Welcome everyone to episode 103 of Missing Pieces. This is the good news, bad news episode, and I guess we'll just jump right into the bad news to get that out of the way. And the bad news of the week is that COVID has finally hit the brickitect household. Last week, or 2 weeks ago at this point, I think if we go back and time travel, Clarkman was sick. He's feeling really low energy, had a snotty nose, all that fun stuff that comes along with a cold. We took him into the doctor, who took a look at him and determined that he had a sinus infection. And we gave him medicine for that, and he got better. Everything was good. But that weekend, after Clark got better, Mrs. Brickitect started getting worse. And we're thinking like, okay, maybe you caught whatever Clarkman had. So on Monday, she tried going into school, just wasn't feeling well at all. So she went and got a COVID test. That COVID test came back the next day positive. So Mrs. Brickitect officially had COVID. Clarkman, throughout this week, he's been up and down a little bit. He had a fever here and there, still kind of coughing a little bit, runny nose. It's been like a 3-week process for him. Mrs. Brickitect, full on, just straight up, like every symptom of COVID that you could have, she has it. She lost her smell, lost her taste. She's got like issues in her lungs. She's low energy. She's got the flu, all of that stuff. And then me, I've got nothing. I feel great. I feel completely fine, and it's all very strange. We did go in. Clark and I went to CVS yesterday, which I guess I don't know how far out CVSs go, but CVS is like a pharmacy, like drugstore, if you will, and they have these drive-up COVID tests, and Clark and I, against my will, went and did that yesterday. Clark needs a negative test to go back to school, or he just needs to stay home for like 15 days. So that is a whole nother thing, which we'll talk about in the good news part of this. I won't get ahead of myself, but let's talk about this COVID test. You know, me personally, I would much rather have a blood test, or like, I'd rather have a needle in my arm than a Q-tip in my nose. And Mrs. Brickitect was trying to calm me down on it. She's like, you know, it's really not that bad. They don't put it up nearly as far as they used to, and you do it yourself. So I was like, okay. So we go to CVS yesterday. We pull up. We're waiting in line forever. Like, it's taking a day and a half just to wait there. We roll up. The lady takes our information and then gives us these 2 plastic bags with like a vial inside and this long Q-tip. So you take the Q-tip and you put that up in your nose, as far as you can make it go before you touch your brain, and you roll that around for 15 seconds. Then you switch nostrils and do it. So I did that with myself, and then I put it inside this little vial, broke the top off, and sealed it. And you put that inside the bag. I had to do it for Clarkman as well, so I had to stick this thing up in his nose, roll it around 15 seconds, both nostrils, and then break it off, put it back in the bag, and then you drive forward a little bit, and then you drop it into the receptacle there. And our results, there's like an instant test, I guess, which is 80% accurate. And then there's like I guess a more thorough one. Mrs. Brickitect handled all of this. So you're taking this from a guy that, you know, maybe not the most knowledgeable. If there's ever advice attacked, don't take my advice on any of this. We're going to get our results back supposedly today, which is Sunday, the day you're listening to this, hopefully, or Monday, the next day. So we'll find out for certain. But it's all very strange. You know, I'm actually a little bit bitter. I thought I'd talk about this end of this. I don't know how many of you have dealt with COVID or had someone in your household or family or friends that have had COVID, but I'm like so bitter about this because we have literally done everything that we were supposed to do. 2020, we didn't do a single thing in our lives because of COVID. We stayed home from vacations. We didn't visit friends and family. Like, we played by the rules. We had like DoorDash delivered and then put it on our doorstep and get the hell out of here. And, you know, all of that stuff. 2020 was a wash. 2021 comes around, still same situation. I mean, we even kept Clark out of school, which was actually kind of awesome. And we'll talk about that here in the good news portion of this after I get done ranting here a little bit. Just allow me to do this, guys. So 2020 wash, 2021 still similar, but then things improved. We got our vaccinations. Cody got the Johnson & Johnson, which was offered to all teachers in the school district. And slightly after that, I got the Moderna vaccine. Clarkman, of course, too young at the time. But summer, things start looking really good. The cases go to almost 0. Everything's great. It seems like things are working out and life's going to be normal. And it was for a couple months. Over the summer, we went on vacation in Outer Banks and had like a great time. Didn't even wear a mask. Everything was cool. Like, it seemed like life was going back to normal. When our August trip rolled around, though, going to Ocean City, numbers were starting to creep back up. The Delta variant apparently had started to strike everywhere and was more contagious, especially to the unvaccinated. So we played it safe on that trip. We wore masks anytime we were inside. We're outside. We just kind of did our thing normally, but we were like try to be as careful as you can be when you get into an elevator with a bunch of people. Fast forward to school starting. You want to definitely get sick in any way. School is the place to do that because it's just a bunch of kids in most cases, all congregated in one area, and everybody's breathing the same air. You're crossing classes in high school, all of that's happening. And we have 2 people in our household. 2 out of 3 people are in school. Me, I'm just a hermit in my basement, so I'm pretty safe here. But masks are enforced and all that stuff, and we've been wearing masks out because Clark isn't vaccinated, and we wanted to protect him. But school is one of those places that's almost unavoidable, and that's kind of what we have learned this week. Clark has been sick twice now in school. He's been in school for about 7 weeks, 8 weeks, maybe 9 weeks now, time travel, and he's been sick twice. Mrs. Brickitect she gets record of all of the COVID cases within the district, and they are spiking like crazy. There's kids in her classroom, including the front row of her class, that have gotten COVID and have been taken out. The kid that sits next to Clark in his classroom had COVID and was taken out. So this is one of those things that it was almost unavoidable. It was just destined to happen. And I'm bitter because we made all these sacrifices to not do anything in our life for like a year and a half, only to eventually end up getting it anyway, basically. At least I'm assuming so. Like, obviously, Mrs. Brickitect, 100% certain. Me, if I have it, I'm asymptomatic. I have no issues. But it's like, we did all of this stuff, played by the rules, did all the things we're supposed to do, all for it to be like just wasted and ruined. Just like that. Because, and I won't get into vaccinations and stuff and how I feel about that, but I will say that had more people been vaccinated, maybe this would have been less likely. But look at Mrs. Brickitect. She was vaccinated with Johnson & Johnson, which I think is maybe like the more tame of the vaccinations. Only one shot, maybe not quite as effective. And she has all this stuff that's happening to her. Was it even worth getting the vaccination? Should we have just went out and lived our lives, gotten COVID a long time ago and just been done with it? I don't know. I guess you can get it more than once. This obviously is not a scientific podcast. This is just a guy that's reflecting on life and the things that he's going through in Lego in some cases, which we'll talk about here in a minute. But like, I'm just kind of angry about it all. I really am, that it went down like this and that she's dealing with all of the consequences of it after we did all that stuff. But there's not much you can do other than move forward. I'm hoping that I don't end up getting anything. The only thing that I had that leads me to believe that I think I got COVID was on Friday, I think, like for a 24-hour time frame, I had a headache on the side of my head, like right beside my temple on my right side. And it only hurt if I moved my head and looked down to the left. And that was the only thing that's happened to me. Outside of that, I feel fine. Clark is doing good now. So I guess if Mrs. Brickitect can recover, get her taste and smell back, that's what she's most devastated about. And that was like something I was thinking about too. I'm like, I hear all these stories and I'm like, dude, if I can't taste pizza, I have nothing to live for. So I'm hoping that all kind of comes back for her, but she's going through it. On the more bad news front, obviously she can't go to school, she can't go to work, so she's home. She's like a whole bunch of sick days, I guess. Has to be home for 2 weeks. I had to pull Clark out of school the day that she came positive, because obviously you don't want a kid running around the elementary schools that has been with someone else that has COVID, even though from what he's told me, there's 14 students in his classroom. And so far this year, there's been about 4 or 5 of them that have been gone for extended periods of time. So as you can tell, like, it's just everywhere. And when I talked to Clark's doctor about it, who I don't know what his stance is on COVID, but he doesn't seem to be a big believer in it, especially not in vaccinations. He basically said that this is just going to run its course and everyone's going to eventually get it. And in his mind, especially with children, that's the best case scenario. It's just to get it, get the antibodies in your system, get the natural immunity, and that does better than, in his mind, what a vaccination does. So that kind of leaves us with a question mark here, whether if Clark and my test comes back positive, do we then get a vaccination for Clark Mann, being that he literally just had this, because it just, I think, became available to 5 to 11-year-olds. And again, I'm really hesitant to even talk about this because COVID is such a thing, like with opposing viewpoints and things like that. And I know it's going to spark like debate in the comments and whatever. And I'm not really interested in that. So if you want to comment on your personal experience, that's fine. I don't want to get into like the politics of COVID and your thoughts that like the governments implanting lizard brain 5G nanobots into your brain or something. Like, I don't want to get into all that, but if you've experienced this, it might be valuable to talk about it, I suppose. Or discuss here if you feel comfortable doing that. Maybe we can reflect on that. But I don't know if I'm going to want to talk about this beyond this week. But this is what's happening. So that's like the bad news of the week. Good news of the week is that the bad news is that they had to come home. The good news is they had to come home, and it's been great having Clark Mann and Mrs. Brickitect here. We've been getting all kinds of family time in. Mrs. Brickitect and I are watching a show on Netflix called You. Finally, we watched season 1 and 2 when it was out long ago. Love the show. It's definitely for mature audiences for sure, but we're cranking our way through that when we can. It's tough to navigate with Clark Mann. So when he's like, you're like, hey, you want to go play some Minecraft? We're like binging You. So we're watching that together. Clark's been in a lot of videos, as you've seen. He's in streams, and he loves that. It's like the old days for us, and I love having the little dude home. Greg's World has definitely suffered because of it, because I haven't really been vlogging much. There's not much that's happening, and I guess this podcast is going to suffer as well, since I don't have any like dramatic, amazing things that happened this week outside of that, and just me venting about being bitter about how it went down. And I won't. Let's move on. We're in the good news portion. Let's stay in the good news portion. So Clark's been home. We've been in the world of Lego. We've been killing it in the world of Lego, destroying the backlog. Clark and I, just yesterday, which was Saturday, he built the buildable Harry Potter character, like the buildable fig. I built Hedwig, which I have actually sitting right here, and that was a neat build. I had fun with that. Clark also built a 500 plus piece set all by himself this week. It was the twin rotor helicopter. I did a little video on it where Clark actually reviewed it, and I had one of those dad moments, and I talked about this a little bit in the beginning of that video because I wanted to reflect on it, where your kid does something, and if you're a parent, you know what this is like. It happens a lot when they're younger. They do something on their own, you're just like taken back by it, whether it be like getting a drink by themselves or, eating with a fork or whatever that thing is. It used to be this thing you used to help them with, and before that you had to do for them entirely. When you see them do this thing, you're just like, wow, that's incredible. They're evolving. He's evolving. So he had that where he built this giant helicopter, 500 plus pieces. I think it was like was it 9+ set or something like that, all by himself. And I was really impressed with that. His Lego building skills are on point. He also built a little Minion set that I was just trying to get out of the backlog that we're going to part out. I'm not really a Minions fan per se. And he built these little flowers for Mrs. Brickitect, and I built the F-150 Raptor, which was a gift from Julian, who sent that to us, and that was pretty darn cool. I have that on display back here. It's right under that light if you're watching this, or you could listen to it on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or whatever. There's going to be a little video on that. Time travel, again, like everything's kind of happening out of order here. But we got that done. What else did we work on? Trying to think if there's any other major builds that we did. Oh, we did the How Bad Is It on the Snap and Switch SpongeBob sets, which were a gift from Jaden. That was a fun video to make, and you guys love that one. That was like a really good performing video. It seems as though the How Bad Is It series is really taken off. Like, people really enjoy it, and it's so funny to have this channel that's based on Lego, and it's consistently the things that people like to see the most is how bad non-Lego is, but I'm having fun doing those. Also did an eBay Lego buying on a budget, probably the longest name in the history of a series, and I got the Batman for $20. Actually, it was like 17 plus tax, so I went under budget on that. I'm gonna be shopping for my $30 item here. I don't know when I'm gonna do that because I want to do a stream on it, but I might do like the setup on it today, or I might just go shopping in general. I don't know. I don't know if I'm gonna stream it or not. But $30 is the next one that's up on that, and that was actually sponsored by Imperial Officer 07. We have a sponsorship on that. Basically donated a whole bunch of super chats. It was like, hey, use this money to buy something. I'm like, let's buy something on eBay. The $50 one was sponsored by Felix, and Bricky Platypus sponsored the $100 one already. So I'm thinking we might go all the way up to $200 with that series. I was trying to figure out when it's going to end, because obviously we're going to be at a point now where I'm losing money on every video. So it needs to be something that, like, I'm trying to get funny things or interesting things. It needs to be something I really want to. And eventually, like, you start going up, like, this is exponential growth. You go from making a $5 video to a $50 video. That gets to be an expensive video. You need, like, the ad revenue certainly isn't going to cover that unless it goes viral or whatever. And it also gets much harder to buy this stuff too. So I'm going to keep it going for a bit. And then I have another idea that kind of is is kind of like a variant of the eBay Lego buying, where I'm just going to be shopping for like weird Lego stuff and trying to get deals on that. So I'd like to develop a weird collection. So I'll try to probably get some suggestions from people on like some weird things that they know of in the Lego space that I could try to look into getting. And the budget really doesn't matter in that regard. So if it's like a $80 item, I'll try to get that or whatever, and we can see how that goes as it goes. But this series is always intended to be like a limited one, because you just can't be like, unless you're Mr. Beast. And you can pull it off, like buying $1,000 item on eBay, a $2,000 budget, $10,000 budget on eBay. You could really go crazy on there, but we would go bankrupt and be homeless. So we'll probably end the series well before that. But it does really help having the I guess unofficial sponsorships. I'm calling them sponsorships, but they're not really anything official. It's just friends helping the cause, I guess, if you want to call it that. If there ever was a cause, buying Lego on eBay. But I'm having fun with that series. People seem to be enjoying it. And I told you guys, and this is kind of evidence, I told you guys once Clark went back to school, the brickitect renaissance would be happening. And I wanted to turn my channel into a series of videos, or like various shows almost, to see kind of what performs, what doesn't perform. And so far, those two have performed well. This week, I'd like to get into doing my amusement park. I've got my pieces that I need for the entryway. I've got pieces for the first ride of that from another friend of ours by the name of Builder Buds. You may have heard of him. He's kind of famous. Yeah, so lots of stuff happening in that regard. So there'll be new videos with that. I'm still working on the Bugatti. I'm about halfway through there. I think it's coming along phenomenally. I'm still loving Lego Technic. And also, another thing that happened in this world of Lego, since we're in that topic, in good news, I guess, you guys probably already saw this, kind of old news at this point, but I got a dirty, disgusting Lego haul from a fisherman that my father-in-law ended up, I guess, talking to one day. In fact, if you go back 2 Missing Pieces episodes, you can hear me talk about that right in the intro to the video. Like, he called me right before I started recording. And last weekend, it all came together. I went there. I was expecting, he said there was a pirate ship, and it was a lot of pieces from the 80s, so I was like expecting the best. I found the worst. The pirate ship wasn't necessarily the one that I wanted, and everything was really dirty. Pieces were broken. It was disgusting. He wanted $75. I was just going to walk away from it, but I thought, if I do this, someone is going to comment that, Greg, there was something in there that was like remarkable, that you should have bought that. So I said, I'll tell you what, I'll do it $40, take it off your hands. If you want to get rid of it, I'll clean it all up, put the time into it, and try to build the ship. And he accepted, and that's what I did. I spent a whole bunch of time this week doing live streams. Last weekend, we had a blast doing that. We did, I think 5 hours of streams in the course of 2 or 3 days, going through all those pieces. I have literally everything that I need for the ship except for 2 pieces and 1 sail. But we're working that out too. I ended up ordering some replica ones off eBay, which I just got yesterday. I haven't opened those yet. But Bricksar also, he was shopping at a store internationally and found one of the sales as well. There was only a few of them listed on Bricklink, and they're all kind of expensive. But since he was placing an order, he found that, and I told him that I would pay him for it and pay for shipping to come to me. And we'll see what we can do. I also got some stuff to clean the sails, some peroxide. That was a recommendation from someone, and that left a comment. And they were like, hey, I literally did this before. Here's a link to my Instagram. I wish I had his name in front of me here. You know who you are, though. And he was like super helpful, and it really made me in that moment really appreciate this community, because there's so many helpful people out there and people that have our backs, and it's remarkable. Lego community is easily the best community on YouTube in my experience, which is limited to say the least. But you guys are great. So I'm gonna try to clean the sails that I have using hydrogen peroxide, like 12% hydrogen peroxide, maybe diluted in the sunlight for a bit, which I'm still waiting for a sunny day. It's been raining for like a week. I'm getting depressed, guys, for a number of reasons. So I shouldn't say that though, because then I'm not depressed. Guys, I'm not, okay? Just kind of gloomy out. It affects my mood a little bit. So, I want to talk about something with that. It's not on the outline, but I'll transition to that if I can, if we can find our way back here. So I'm going to try to lighten these sails. I cleaned them. They're no longer dirty, but they're very yellowed. So I'm going to try to whiten them. The tricky part is the one that Bricksar sends me. Maybe I should wait until I have that one before I do this, because I don't want them to get too light. I want them to be very even. So I have the official Lego ones. But if that fails, if my project fails entirely, I made an offer on some aftermarket ones that I could put on it. So I want to get this boat. It's Redbeard's Runner, set number 6289 from 1996. I'd like to get it complete. altogether, I think it's worth at least probably at least $100 maybe. I see them going for like 300 on eBay, but it's a little dirty, a little dingy, and a lot played with. So if I can get that together, that'll be like a piece that I can look at. I remember the day that my father-in-law and I went out and had a great time hunting for this Lego stuff from this crazy random fisherman. And I'll look at that and think about that, like so much of my Lego collecting journey is just that. It's a journey. It's about remembering times and moments and things that we've been through and where we're going. And that is an example of that. So that's why it means so much to me. And I'm not just putting it into my collection. Everything else really does need cleaned up really well. The white pieces, I'm also going to put in the hydrogen and see if we can whiten those bad boys up as well. Hydrogen peroxide, that is. And yeah, just see where it goes. Might put some of it in my collection. Some of it's probably going to get donated. I'm not going to throw anything away except for the broken stuff, because there's some kids out there somewhere that's like, yeah, Lego. Who cares if it's discolored or whatever? But it is all 100% Lego. What was I going to transition to earlier? 5 a.m. Lego. I wanted to talk about that. I knew I was going to lose it. I should have made a little note here. 5 a.m. Lego has been going really well. I had some ups and downs with that this week with like not getting enough sleep, I think. I was setting my alarm since Mrs. Brickitect wasn't getting up so like 5 o'clock every day. I was like, man, I better set my alarm so I'm not late. And I would come down and a couple of days, I just wasn't feeling it. And it's not good to do something when you're not feeling it, like especially live streaming, because you want to be in the zone. You want to be feeling good. And there's days where I'm just like up there, and then there's days where I'm down here. And I realized that it was because I wasn't sleeping enough. So I think maybe it was Friday, regardless of what day it was, I decided I was going to just wake up naturally, whatever time that is. If it's 7 o'clock, 5 a.m. Lego becomes 7 a.m. Lego. And I did that, and it was so much better. So I've decided that maybe I'm going to rebrand 5 a.m. Lego to just like Good Morning Brickitectors, which is what it used to be a long time ago. And it is what it is. It is when it is. And I think it's more important, like I like consistency, and I always preach that to you guys, but I think it's more important that I feel good when I do it, and I don't want it to negatively affect me or my mood or my day or anything like that. Because if I have a bad stream, it sets me off on like a downward spiral for a while, and I don't want that. I want to come down and be like, guys, I've slept great. It's 5:33. No one missed me in the last 30 minutes. Maybe you did, maybe you didn't, but by far, it's more important that for me at least, to put on a good show and feel good than it is to be like 5 a.m. every day, like literally flipping the switch and getting on there. But I'm enjoying that. In fact, I hate to tell you guys this, especially missing pieces detectors that are out there, because this used to be my most fulfilling thing that I did, and the thing I loved most was sitting down here and talking about these things. But I feel like the live streaming bug has bit me really hard. And I just really enjoy the interaction that comes from these streams and all the fun that we have. I like the free-flowing nature of it. I like getting things done. I like being productive while I'm rambling on about something for 20 minutes or whatever, 2 hours in some cases. I really enjoy that, and I feel like that's where my passion is right now, is in these live streams. It's kind of taken away the gusto a little bit from missing pieces, to be very honest with you, because everything that I've talked about today, I've already kind of discussed in one way or another during the streams. But I know for some people, obviously you can't sit down for 10 hours a week and put that much time into me building or whatever. It's much easier if it's contained in this. So I just make little side notes about all the things that have happened and things that I'd like to discuss. And it's kind of like a recap here, which, speaking of that, inspired by Builder Buds, who I've mentioned earlier, I told you he's a little famous. I'm thinking about doing this little series out of 5 a.m. Lego. I live stream myself doing this stuff all the time. I was thinking about doing a series called, his is called My Week in Lego, and I might do something similar to that if he doesn't mind. I'm sure he wouldn't. Or My Life in Lego or something, where I just kind of document the things that I worked on in 5 a.m. Lego throughout the week. Have just little clips of all the stuff that's happening, and then do a little voiceover attack at the end of the week being like, okay, so this is where I finished the F-150 Raptor, and it's such an awesome build, looks sick on display. Julian's a legend for sending it. I also built Hedwig, and just kind of showing the things we did, including organizing, which is my win of the week. My win of the week, by far. And this is tied to 5 a.m. Lego, because I was like, you know what? If I'm going to be here chatting with everybody and we're going to be putting time into this, I want to be productive. I want to get something accomplished. And the thing that I got accomplished was clearing my tables. I have 12 feet of black tables along my wall over here. And those tables historically have been just filled with stuff. Clark mocks, projects that I'm working on, all kinds of just like hauls that need to be done, stuff everywhere, bowls of pieces that need to be sorted. And I said, this week, 5 a.m. Lego, I'm going to take some days and I'm going to sit down, I'm going to part out stuff, I'm going to sort things out. And I did just that, and I loved it. I love looking at my table and seeing just black table over there. I like white tables too. I want a white table here, but it feels good having a place for projects. Like the Bugatti now has a place to live over there for the next 6 weeks while I build that up. And then I've got my drawers over there filled with pieces, and I've been sorting those out and getting everything ready. And it's so satisfying. I know sorting, like for some people, and for me historically, it's been like, it's not very encouraging because you'll sit there for hours and you'll be getting your pieces together, and then you put them away and you look and there's still like 30 pounds of Lego that you have to go through, and you're just like, oh my God, I'm never going to get done. I'm not making any progress. But you do. And I tell you guys this a little bit each day, even if it's just 5 o'clock, you got up and you're doing your little live stream, you take care of a bowl of Lego. That's a bowl that doesn't exist there the next day. That's a clear spot. And I have this problem with anytime there's a spot, I put stuff there. So I'm trying not to do that. I just want to have like peace and serenity when I look around. In fact, this is kind of killing me back here. All my camera equipment there is nice because it's like I can just grab it. But we have those stunts things that we built like 3 weeks ago whenever Clark was off for Columbus Day. And I would like to like do something with that. We haven't really played with it much since then, so I don't know if I'm going to take it apart, put it up in like a little spot for Clark Man to get into. But I just want to have like this clear spot. So the absolute biggest win of the week for me was getting through all that stuff and getting organized and feeling good about it when I'm done. And I have a lot more to go. Like there's so many more things that I want to sort down and get like just dialed in. And I'm so excited about that. Like I've always said, and I'm sure I've said it here because I said it on live stream, I want my Lego collection to look like a Bricklink store, only I'm not selling it on Bricklink. You know, I want all my little drawers that I pull out and have my pieces there if I'm looking for something, if we're making mocks. This can be really important as we're building the amusement park to have like places where you can find the things you're looking for. So I was excited about that. I'm excited about this week because I've got a whole bunch of plans for videos and stuff that are in the works. I've got some hauls that I want to do and just some really great ideas that I'm very excited about. So this is going to be an awesome week. Clark is home with me this week as well. So we'll see how much of that I actually get done or if we just kind of go off script and push that off while we work on things that we really love. But the backlog's going down. I'm getting organized. We're getting COVID. I mean, what more could you want in the good news, bad news episode here? For you guys, though, I referenced my win of the week. Most of the comments from last week were wins of the week. There was a couple other ones. A few of them that were about like, I made a reference to obsessive compulsive disorder last week and maybe the week before. I don't think we're going to touch on that anymore because again, I'm not a doctor. This isn't a scientific or medical podcast by any means. And I don't think that I'm the guy that we should go to talk about that kind of stuff. So if you're like, I get it. We all have our own things, but we should probably, some of that should probably be kept private. And I don't think I'm going to go quite into that or self-diagnose anything because then I get other people being like, I think I have that too, or I do this, and I don't know if that's good or not. I just don't. I try to keep it real with you guys here, but sometimes maybe you just need to keep it to Lego, you know. But most of the comments this week, which there weren't much, last week's missing pieces underperformed pretty much all of them recently, and I don't know what that's about. This is like even my, I talked about this somewhere. God, I talk about things everywhere. It's so crazy to see you sit down for all this time and you talk about what's on your heart like this. And then you do a 40-second YouTube short on your Bugatti that's half built. And that gets significantly more views than this. And it hurts my soul a little bit, guys. And I know it's not your faults. I'd rather watch a 40-second video than a guy sit down and talk about getting COVID for 30 minutes. But I want it to be the other way around. And maybe it's because I'm in the space of making videos about toys for younger audiences, and this just isn't their cup of tea, but it's pretty discouraging. And literally the only thing that's keeping me going at this point is the thing that I tell you guys to keep you going, and that's consistency. Because there was a thought in my mind today to be like, let's just not even do an episode. What am I going to talk about? Cody has COVID. Clark and I got tested yesterday. I can't even tell you the results because I don't have them. We got a bunch of stuff built, but I already talked about that and showed it everywhere. Is there a purpose? And I want to say yes, and I want to keep this going. I can't drop it now after 100+ plus episodes. But all those things run through my mind, and I think it's good to be honest with you guys, you know? I don't want to be like, hey, it's roses and sunshines all the time, because sometimes you don't feel that way. And we're all like that, all of us. But I do want to send you guys out on some positivity. I know this episode was kind of maybe brought you down. Ronnie commented last week about how this is the one podcast when it's over, he always feels like he's like more positive than when it started. And I feel like I let the man down this week. So I'm going to rapid fire some wins of the week from a whole bunch of people here, and the things that you guys are winning in, including taking French courses, finishing cross-country season, relaxing and playing video games, going to the movies, making and monetizing YouTube videos. That was among a bunch of people, and improving grades. Those are all of your guys' wins of the week. I think it's awesome you guys are out there doing stuff, getting things accomplished. I'm happy that maybe this podcast helps you in that regard. I see comments like that, which makes me feel great. And for you, that's why I do this, because I do think that there's people out there that this is exactly what they need in their life. And maybe it's exactly what I need in my life too. But I'm having fun. I love this hobby of Lego. I love the community that we've built around it. I love interacting with you guys, chatting with you guys. Live streaming is just, it's infected me again in a really positive way, I think. I just need to find that little, dial it in a little bit, balance it a little bit. And once we do that, everything is flowing. In fact, I have a comment that I want to share with you guys. This is one last thing, and I might have to take a quick little break here unless I can fill this with something. I want to share this comment with you that this person left last episode that I thought was probably the coolest one, and maybe leaves you guys on some thought-invoking stuff. Oh, this brickitect guy. 33 comments. Let's see if I can find this one comment. Oh, here it is. This is from Plizzy. Hopefully I'm saying it right. I got to share this one. I have to. He says, I'm not sure how this connects to today's episode, but I was relating things in my personal life through that little voice in the back of my mind. And it's that life is like a band or an orchestra. I think I've shared my musical adventures here once or twice before, but this connection blew myself away. Ooh, the hype has been built. This is why I have to share it. He says, a band has many parts, brass, woodwinds, percussion, but your choices represent the conductor. You have the choice to change the band, add or subtract instruments, or parts of the song. Not enough and you might become lonely or depressed. Too much and you might get stressed and have anxiety. You need to find the perfect amount for a perfect blend of melody, harmony, and rhythm. I'm not sure what I'm trying to get at here, but these podcasts always get me thinking. Win of the week is quarter one ended. My grades are great. Not going to toot my own horn here, but straight A's for your boy Plizzy. You're welcome for the long comment. Probably the longest. Probably the longest. I love that. I love thinking of that. Like, I'm always trying to find balance in my life, and I've never thought of it like from a musical perspective before, but I think it's cool that you do. You are the conductor of your life. You set up everybody. You can make any kind of music you want. What kind of music do you want to make this week? That's what the question I'm going to end this episode with. What is the music that you want to make, and how are you going to make it? And that music could be anything in your life. It could be anything. So on that, hopefully that left you with some positivity here, Builder Buds. With that, I hope you guys have a glorious week this week. I'm going to be back next week. We're going to make episode 104. Of course we are. Hopefully I have some things to talk about. Hopefully I have some amazing news stories and insightful stuff that's happened that I can share with you like crazy, and your mind's just going to be blown. But otherwise, it's just going to be a guy talking about his life, Lego, and anything else that's on his mind. So on that, hope you have a great week, and we'll find you in the next Missing Pieces.